So I've decided to work on a brand new project. As you see, this is the start of my new project, and if you could tell by the title, this is the start of a Redstone calculator. Now, some of you who are probably watching this probably don't know um, what this specific module that I've started building is, or don't understand how it works. So today, in this video specifically, I am going to try and go into an in-depth explanation on how this specific component that I have just finished building actually works. So this first module that I built here for my new Redstone calculator project consists of two main components. The first main component is this adder circuit, which is this bigger circuit right here. If you don't know what an adder circuit is, I will be sure to give an explanation on the inner workings of this entire circuit and how it functions and how it works and all that stuff quite in depth. And the second module, which is significantly smaller than the first big one, is this simple inverter. I will also do an in-depth explanation on how this functions and how it contributes to my Redstone calculator. So first, I am going to try my best to explain the first part of this module for my Redstone calculator, which is the adder circuit. So basically, what the adder circuit does is it takes two inputs and it will add those inputs together to give one result or one output. So this first line right here is represented as our first input, as you can see right here. This bottom set of levers is our second input, as you can see. These two inputs will go to the adder circuit and they will get added together to get this final result. Now, this calculator does all of its calculating and stuff in what's called binary. If you don't know what binary is, I will explain that right now. So because calculators and computers cannot use base 10 like we do to run our calculations, they have to use what's called base 2, or in other words binary, to run their calculations because of their physical limitations, being that they can only represent numbers in two states, which is a 1 and a 0. So base 2, or binary, works pretty much just like base 10, except it doesn't count from 1, 10, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million, and so on. Instead, it will multiply by 2 rather than 10 for each digit. So for example, we have 1, we have 2, because we're multiplying 1 by 2, multiply 2 by 2, and that's 4, 4 by 2, and that's 8, 8 by 2, 16, and 16 by 2, 32, and 64, 128, 256, and so on. So in order to demonstrate how we can create a number using this counting system, I will just demonstrate this by using this adder circuit to kind of show you how it works. So if we take one of our inputs let's do our top input. We're going to just input the number 1, which is just activating one input in the first decimal place. And as you can see, that gives us 1. Now, if we just turn that off, and if we turn this input on, which represents as the second place, we will then have 2. So now if we activate both the second digit and the first digit, we get 3, because we add the second place, and the first place to get 3. Now in order to get the number 4, all we just need to do is turn these inputs off and enable this third place, which is actually the fourth place, because again, in binary we're multiplying by 2 instead of multiplying by 10 as in base 10. So now the output reads 4. And then if we activate the first place again, you guessed it, it's 5, because 4 and 1 is 5. If we activate the second place and the fourth place, 2 plus 4, that is 6. And basically it will just go on and on like this. We have, of course, 7, because we're adding the fourth place, the second place, and the first place. 4 plus 2 plus 1 is 7. And then, of course, to get to number 8, we just turn all 3 of these off, and then we enable the 8th place, which is this 4th digit right here. So then we have the number 8 as seen. So now I would like to show you how we can take 2 numbers and add them together to get an output on the output display right here. So I'm just going to input a number from this input and that input, and hopefully the adder circuit should add those 2 numbers together and give us an accurate output. So for demonstration purposes, let's just do 6 plus 3. Let's do 6 plus 3. So we have done that, and as you can see, the output reads 9, because the 8th place is enabled and the first place is enabled. 8 plus 1 is 9. So now that you know what the adder circuit does, it just takes 2 numbers and it adds them together to get a result on the display or the output or whatever. Now I'm going to explain to you the function of this inverter right here. So if you read the title, the part 1 of this series of me building this new Redstone calculator is not only having an adder circuit right here, but also having the ability to subtract in binary as well. Taking 2 numbers, subtracting them with the use of this inverter, and getting an output on the display. So this module alone is not just able to do addition, as I just demonstrated, but it's also actually able to do subtraction. And the way it does that is it will do something called 2's complement, which I'm just going to explain how 2's complement works. So basically what 2's complement does is a method of subtracting in binary where you take one of your inputs, you invert that input So instead of, for example, the number 2, you actually get number 5. And then you add 1 to the carry in for this adder circuit. Or you just add 1. And that will give you a new input for this top input, for just one of the inputs at least, that you can add together with the other input down here. And therefore that will give you a result on the display. I'm just going to demonstrate this a little more clearly by just making a little diagram here. So we start out with the number 2, as you see, or actually we can start out with number 6 actually. And so we're going to invert that. So now instead of 6, it's going to be 1. And then we're going to add 1. I'm just going to do that. So when we add 1, it will actually result in 2. It will give us 2 instead of just 1 because we have added 1. So yeah. Basically what that smaller module does next to the adder circuit is it will do that thing that I just showed you. It will invert this top input, and it will add 1 to this input in this adder circuit, which will then give us a brand new number that we can use to add with the second input on the bottom. So to demonstrate this, I'm just going to do a simple subtraction problem. Let's do 12 minus 4. 12 minus 4. So then we're just going to enable the inverter. And it doesn't just enable the inverter, but it also adds 1 to this input. So the result is 8, because 12 minus 4 is of course 8. So now that I have all of that covered, I'm just going to go into a more in-depth explanation on how both of these modules work and how they work together to give me the ability to not only add but also subtract. So we're just going to go ahead and hop into one of my testing worlds, which over there I have set up a set of diagrams just to explain to you how all of this stuff pretty much works together to do the things that I want them to do. So we're just going to jump into my world right now. Okay, so we're just in my testing world right now, and so as you can see, I have all of these I have all these circuits, as you can see, just set up as demonstration to sort of explain to you how all of this pretty much comes together and works to the way I want it to work. So to start off, we have this adder circuit. This is not my design. The credit for this design goes to Amorth. So yeah. Anyway, I'll have a link in the description to check out his videos on this specific adder design. It's like 7 years old, so like 7 years later this adder circuit still works, and it's very compact and practical, and I like it a lot. So anyway, this is just one adder module. So my Redstone calculator, or the beginning of it that I showed you before we came into this testing world, had 16 of these adders connected to each other. This is just one adder circuit, just for demonstration. As you can see, it works pretty much just like the adders in my other world. 1 plus 0 is 1. 0 plus 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Because this output is enabled and this input is turned off. So that's 2. So this single adder circuit alone is actually comprised of two different components. Well, not different components, but two components, which is this, these two, well, this module right here. There's actually two of those connected together here to make up this entire adder circuit. This circuit right here is what's called a half adder. Combining two of these half adders together gives us this full adder. Now this half adder is pretty much just half of an adder. Has two inputs and one output pretty much. So you have 1 plus 0 is 1, 1 and 1, 0. And when this torch turns on, that means it's 2. It pretty much enables the carry out, pretty much. So yeah, two of these connected together makes a full adder. And this half adder is actually made up of a few different what's called logic gates. If you don't know what a logic gate is, I'm just going to go ahead and explain all the different kinds of logic gates that make up this half adder circuit. So as we can see over here, we have all these different demonstrations. Now these are just different circuits, but they're not as compact as these two circuits right here. The reason for this is because I just want to make it very clear on how all of this stuff works. And that's the reason why I pretty much laid all the different components out instead of trying to make them compact. So to start off, we have what's called an OR gate. This type of logic gate allows us to just make an input from one or two of these inputs to give one in the output. So if we just have 1, that's equals 1. 1 is 1. 1 or 1 of the two outputs can either be 1 for the output, or you can just have both and that will be the same. This next logic gate I want to show you is called an AND gate. Now what this does is you just have one input, but unlike an OR gate, when you activate one of the inputs, it still does not turn on. The reason for this is because you need this input and this input together to make this input turn on, thus giving it the name AND gate. Now, this next logic gate I want to show you is called an XOR gate, or it's an exclusive OR gate. This type of logic gate is a modified OR gate. However, it has a few different logic gates connected to this, which gives it exclusive features, thus giving it the name exclusive OR. So I have another exclusive OR gate right here. This circuit and this circuit are actually both the same thing. They do the same things, except this one is more compact and this one isn't. So you can see that there's a lot of different logic gates that make up an XOR gate. You see we have an AND gate right here, we have our two inputs to start off, really. And these two inputs are go into an OR gate, and they also go into an AND gate. So we have an output from our OR gate coming over to this circuit, which is called a NOT gate. So we have just a little demonstration here of what a NOT gate is. Basically what a NOT gate does is it's quite simple. It has one input. If you enable that input, it will just invert the output. If you disable this, it will enable the output, pretty much just inverting the input, just as shown. So you have a 1 here, and it will be a 0 here. Have a 0 here, it will be a 1 here. So this OR gate connected to this NOT gate is actually what's called a NOR gate. It's basically an OR gate connected to a NOT gate, which gives it the name NOR gate, kind of. And the output for this AND gate is connected to the output of this NOT gate, which is routed into the second NOT gate, which is then routed to the output. So to demonstrate what the XOR gate really does is I'm just going to go ahead and show you. So if we enable this input, we will get an output at the end right here. However, I mean, it will be the same if we enable the second input. It'll just be a 1 also. However, if we enable both inputs, it will actually give us a 0. And it will also do the same here. 1, 1, 0. So now that you know what a AND gate, NOR gate, a NOT gate, OR gate, and all those other things are, now I would like to show you something a little bit more complicated. So this is a half adder. Of course, I just have shown you what a half adder does really. This is another half adder. Of course, I don't have to repeat myself, unless if you don't really know whatever. So yeah, this is a half adder. This pretty much just does the same thing as that half adder does, obviously. So we enable this input, we get a 1. It will also give us a 1 if we enable this input too. So yeah, 1. However, if we combine both inputs, it will give us a 2. So yeah, basically we have over here is an XOR gate hooked up to a, well, not hooked up. Well, the inputs to the XOR gate are hooked up not only to the XOR gate, but also to an AND gate as well. So yeah, that's basically what that XOR gate is also. You can see that the blue part, the part that's highlighted in blue is an AND gate actually. The part that's highlighted in red is an OR gate, or an XOR gate, which it pretty much turns into. And you can also see on our full adder we have one AND gate right here. It's not highlighted, but I just hope you can see it's an AND gate. So yeah. Moving on, and over here we now have a full adder, what's called a full adder. It is basically the same thing over here. It does the same things. It functions the same way, except it's much less compact. just so I can really explain the inner workings of a full adder. So really, as I said before, what a full adder is it's just two half adders connected together. And of course we have the AND gate, and with the first half adder and the AND gate for the second half adder which are connected together to give the output or the carry out, which it is called. And we of course have our two inputs, and we have another additional input, which is what's called the carry in. So if you were to stack multiple full adders to increase your number range or so, or increase the amount of adders you would want in a certain project that you're working on. In my case, I'm working on a calculator, so I have 16 of these full adders connected to each other. The way you would connect another adder to this full adder is by routing up this carry out output to another carry in input in the second full adder circuit. So just to demonstrate how this works, we can enable this first input. Of course, the output will be 1. The same goes for this other input. It's also 1. But if we combined both inputs, of course, it gives us a 2. And if we enable the carry in, it will give us a 3. 2 plus 1 is 3. So yeah, I hope I explained all of that pretty clearly. I hope you understood what I was trying to get to you. So now I want to show you some other things. Basically, now that we've covered how the half adder works, I want to just go ahead and explain to you the second main component in that project that I just showed you before I came into my testing world, which is the inverter. Of course, the inverter just inverts your input. However, it's not inverted. I'm just going to turn this on. When you turn this on, it will invert your input. So if we input a 0, it will give us a 1 on the output. If we input a 1, it will give us a 0 on the output. However, if we disable this, it will just output normally. 0 for the input, 0 for the output, 1 for the input, 1 for the output. So yeah, we have this second inverter circuit. This is the actual design that I used for my Redstone calculator project. You can tell because it's much more compact. It does the same thing as this inverter. See, if we just flip this on, and it will just output the opposite, that is our input. If we input a 1, it will be a 0. We input a 0, it will be a 1. We flip this again, it will just output normally. We input a 1, that's a 1. We input a 0, that's a 0. But anyway, I'm going to just end this video right here. I will definitely be working more on this calculator, and there will definitely be more added to this in the second part of this series. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're wondering when my showcase video for my Redstone 3-bit computer is going to come out, it's probably going to take me like 3 weeks or so until that video is out. So please stick around for 3 weeks, and hopefully I will have the time to release that video by then. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, please subscribe, and hit the like button, turn on your notifications so that you can be notified whenever I release a new video. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you all later.